All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session on Steps to Homeschool Success. I am Shannon Eves. I'm a family liaison, and I'm here with Carrie and Jamie from our family liaison team. First, I'd like to inform everyone that this session is currently being recorded. So for those who prefer not to be recorded, this is completely optional. You can turn off your cameras and microphones. This session is an open forum where participants are encouraged to ask questions or share their thoughts. Rest assured, at the end, we'll pause the recording for anybody who wishes to ask questions or speak off of the recording. So each session, we do cover a different topic. Our last session covered starting your path and resources and community. If you'd like to watch that recording later, I'm going to put a link in the chat that had to a document where you can find that session. In this session, we're going to be going over finding your balance. And the next one we're gonna cover avoiding burnout, or at least trying to. So today we're going to be talking about finding your balance. Finding your balance in your homeschool and your life, it can be a struggle for new and veteran homeschoolers. And how it works for each family is going to look different. Like I said last week, and it's kind of becoming my motto, every family homeschools differently. What one family does might not be the best fit for another family. You have to find what works best for your home. This is your family's journey. And please do come back next week. We're going to talk about avoiding burnout. There are going to be more tips to help balance as well. So first, we're going to get into big picture planning. Big picture planning is all about mapping out your year. It's like creating a roadmap for success. I know some homeschooler parents are eager to dive in and start making plans for each day and week. I recommend taking a step back and taking a good look at your whole year first. Trust me, it's going to make your life easier when you're scheduling your days. That way you won't end up with double or overloaded plans. So you're going to need a blank year calendar for this. You can find one online. I like the website Calendarpedia. They have some in planners as well, like at the front of a planner. And you can also just take a piece of paper and fold it 12 times. So you're going to fold it 4 times one way and 3 times the other way. And you're going to have 12 squares. And then you can label each of those with a month. And each month, you can write the big important things that are going to affect your homeschool. Like the school calendar vacation days. I like to add the school holidays and breaks to my year at a glance. You can find them on our website, and I'm also going to put it in the chat. I also like to add the LP date ranges. So I know when I'm going to be talking with my HST, what we covered and what we're going to be covering in the next month. Along with school breaks, you may want to add your own holidays, vacations and birthdays, baby due dates, anniversaries, and any big events that you need to remember to plan around with. I know for us, we like to lighten our load around birthdays so we can spend more time celebrating. And if you're going on a vacation, I like to remember to plan light or make sure our lessons are portable. Add classes and activity events. So I'm not saying you should write down karate every Thursday, but if you've got something big coming up, like a recital or a presentation or a performance, it's useful to add those things here. I like to add these things to my schedule so I can keep track of when we're busier. When we're busier with outside activities, if certain months are packed with events, I want to make sure to plan a little bit lighter lessons or find activities that we can do on the go. I also like to ease up on the workload leading up to these events because I know my kids are putting in a lot of effort and I don't want to overwhelm them with something else. Also, it's a good idea to add the start day and the last day of a class or activity. You can also add themes, units, or projects that you've planned for the months here. Some themes homeschoolers like to go with seasonal themes, like focusing on apples in September and pumpkins in October. Or you can do celebrations of the month, like February is Black History Month and March is Women's History Month. May is Asian Pacific Heritage Month and September to October is Hispanic Heritage Month. If you prefer unit study or a project-based learning approach, you can jot down which months you'd like to tackle each unit or project. Personally, I find it helpful to use a dated calendar for this so you can easily highlight which weeks you're going to be working on which units. Do you do monthly read alouds? Sorry, do you do monthly read alouds? What books do you want to read each month? A good tip here is to list out how many chapters are in the book and maybe even how many pages are in the chapters. And you can also look up the audiobooks, even if you're not listening to the audiobook, just to see how long they are. So like say the Hunger Games is 10.5 hours long and you want to read for 30 minutes a day. It's going to take you roughly 21 days to read it. So listing all of that out on the plans can help later. And that's so you don't over or under plan your read alouds. You can add anything else here that you feel, and then put this paper in the front of your lesson planner or hang it up somewhere so you can refer back to it as you plan your school year out. Does anybody want to share or have questions before we move on to weekly or daily planning? You can unmute yourself. You can say it in the chat.
Hi, I just want to ask, when do you think the teacher going to be assigned to us? So we can start plan the whole year plan?
So they're going to be assigning teachers over the summer. They will be contacting you. They are on vacation though. They do have 5 days that they are back from vacation. They'll contact you during that time, or you'll hear from their regional coordinator.
But
that way you can get started.
Okay, do you have an idea when those 5 days are?
It's going to vary by teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, but the problem is like if we think about enrolling the community college courses, it seems like the time is kind of tight because they do have a deadline for enrolling and they do need the teacher's approval to get into the programs like that. So I just kind of like a little bit worried about the timing schedule of enrolling the community college courses.
So you can, Jamie, do you have any like ideas on what they can do for that?
Let me think. Have you signed your master agreement yet?
I'm sorry, but I don't really know what that
Okay,
is.
so that's okay. So the master agreement will be your final step in the enrollment process, and that will get sent out to you by the teacher. So if you don't have a master agreement, then you don't, and then I know for sure you don't have an assigned teacher. So without that master agreement, we can't help support you with the community college course because we have to get that on there.
Right.
Let me think. If you want to send me a private message, I'll message you in the chat and I'll see if I can reach out to our enrollment coordinator and just see where that process is for you.
Okay, that would be really, really helpful. Really appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, so I think I think the step I think we kind of stop on is like we kind of complete all the enrollment, and they send us email saying, seems like we'll complete everything. They're going to try to get us the teacher we requested. So I think based on that information, do you think we already completed the master agreement you mentioned?
No, that would come directly from your teacher.
Okay, I see.
And that
Okay.
it'll include the specific courses that your student is taking.
Okay.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go to next. So before we get into different planning methods, you can use for planning your days out, we're gonna talk about using a rhythm and or a schedule. What's the difference and which one should I use? They both have pros and cons, just depending on it just depends on your family. So schedules. A schedule is structured and planned out and is divided into weeks, days, and even can be divided into hours. With set times. So for example, 8 a.m. wake up, have breakfast and get ready. 9 a.m. start lessons with reading. 9:30 is math. 10 is snack and free play. 10:30 is science, and so on. This is great for kids who need structure and for kids who have classes. It's also great for really busy households. Rhythm. Rhythm is a flow from one thing to the next. It's not designated by time. When one thing's done, you're going to move on to the next thing. It uses anchors or blocks of time to keep it flowing. So for example, your anchors are breakfast, lunch, and snack times, because kids are really good at remembering when they're hungry. And then you fill in what you want to accomplish between those anchors. So after breakfast, we read and do math, and then it's lunchtime and we do science or social studies, and then it's snack time and we go out and play. Rhythm allows for more wiggle room, like sleeping in or interruptions during the day. So planning methods. You've heard about homeschool methods. There's also planning methods. Some of these can work with both rhythms and schedules, and some can only work with one of them. I'm going to cover a few so you can choose which one works best for you and your family. First, there's the traditional method. It is planning your day out, how a school would set those days out. So, or like a big box curriculum would do it. Some of them have it planned for you already. It's really easy to find a traditional schedule online right now, especially after distance learning. Pros, it works well with pre-planned curricula. Cons is it doesn't take advantage of flexibility that homeschooling does offer. So for example, it's going to be like a structure. You're going to 9 a.m. reading and language arts, 9:45 math, 10:15 is a break, 10:30 is homeschool, history and social studies, sorry. You can find a lot of these online. And then there's block scheduling. There are a few ways to do block scheduling. One is to plan out your days in blocks. Oh, sorry. It's to plan your days in blocks. The first block is math. The second block is language arts and science. Blocks can be time-based by the hour, or they can be the time of day, like morning's math, afternoon is science. You can even do this by days, where one day is math focused, the next day is language arts focused, the following day is science. Another way that's popular is by month. So for the first month, we're going to focus on math. The next month, we're going to focus on science, and then the next one on social studies. Pros for this is you can deep dive into subjects. Cons for this can be you're not covering some subjects at all times. So another planning method is loop scheduling, and loop scheduling can be confusing at first. So just if you have any questions, please ask. Loop scheduling is where you take a subject or activity that you don't want to do daily and loop them. I don't recommend looping anything that you feel needs to be done daily. Like if you feel that you need math and reading done daily, don't loop those subjects. There are different ways to do loops. So for example, a popular one is science, history, and geography. You can have these on a loop where you spend one day on one and the next day on another. And then you start the loop over. You can do them by time. So if, say, you want to spend 30 minutes on each subject and you have about an hour of time. So on day one, you're going to do science and history. And on day two, you're going to do geography and science. And on day three, you're going to do history and then geography. But say like on day three, you only have half an hour. So you're only going to do one of the subjects and then you can pick up the next one the next day. Another example is to loop language arts. There's a lot in language arts. So you can take like spelling, vocabulary, and writing and loop those. Say you want to do spelling 2 times a week, vocabulary 2 times, and writing 3 times a week. And you want to give each of them like 15 minutes. You have half an hour daily. You can organize them like this: writing, spelling, writing, vocabulary, writing, spelling, vocabulary. That way you're getting them all in. And on day one, you would be doing writing and spelling. And on day 2, writing and vocabulary. And day 3 is writing and spelling. And day 4 would be vocabulary. And you can either stop here or you can go back to the top of the loop. If any days get interrupted or you don't have much time to do both, you can just pick up with the next thing in the loop. Another popular one is to loop arts type subjects like art study, music study, nature study, and poetry study, things you want to do weekly but have trouble kind of like fitting everything in. I love looping science and history so we don't miss out on them if we get busy. Like if I planned science on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but Tuesday kept getting interrupted and we're behind and playing catch up every Thursday. So I know this style can be confusing, like I said before. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. The pros of this is not missing out on subjects. The cons is that you can accidentally plan too much in your loop. And I spelled schedule wrong on there. So sorry.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this like per kid, or is this something that could work with 2 kids in different grades?
Yeah, you can loop schedule for however you feel fits your family.
So like, I mean, for any of your methods, this was my, or is my first year, and I definitely got the burnout, so I'm hoping to log in next week.
And so I'm actually
going
to go over like multiple students in a minute.
Oh, okay.
But you can definitely use these with all your kids.
Thank you.
So the next one is Pomodoro method. And it's called Pomodoro, and I'm probably saying that wrong. It's Italian for tomato. It's like a kitchen tomato timer. Oh, look, Jamie has one.
This is my favorite because I'm a procrastinator, so I literally have the tomato timer.
I have a visual timer for myself. And you're gonna hear it beeping now. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me turn the sound off so it doesn't go off. For this, you're going to set a series of focus times and break times. For instance, 25 minutes of focus time and then a 5-minute break, and then 25 minutes again for another, and then a 5-minute break. My oldest loves to do this with like her daily things that she has to do. So she does math for 25 minutes and then takes a 5-minute break. And then she'll do reading for 25 and take a break, and then Spanish for 25. And then she's done with her daily subjects because she likes to just get it done. My younger one, she does this, but she uses shorter focus times and longer breaks. So for like 10 to 15 minutes, she'll do like math or something, and then she'll take like a 5 to 10 minute break. And like I said, we like to use these time timers because they're visual, but you can use any type of timer. You can use your phone. My kids like to do it with Alexa sometimes. I also like to use this method when juggling working and homeschooling. So pros is the students don't feel overwhelmed and can focus. Cons is it can break focus if they're deep diving. Okay, and our last method is reverse planning. This is where instead of writing down everything you're going to do, you write down everything you have done. There's different ways to do this as well. I've seen someone who just wings it through their day and then they write down at the end of the day everything they did. I've seen some where they write down everything on a post-it note that they want to accomplish. And then whatever they did accomplish, they transfer that into their planner. This method prevents erasing when things don't go according to plan. The pros of this, less stress and erasing. The cons is you can forget to do some things. So before we move on, does anybody have any questions? And we're gonna go to multiple students.
I just
Like I
wanted
said,
to say the reverse planning is so awesome for anyone to do, because even if you are following something really structured, like giving yourself credit where credit's due, like if you got pulled over for being on your cell phone while driving and you had a whole discussion about obeying the law and, you know, speed limits and what fines are and what going to court for a ticket means, like this is just a personal example. You know, that's something that I was able to do. And I documented that in my reverse planning because that wasn't something I planned to happen that day, but it was something that happened and I wanted to give myself credit for it because it turned into like a really fruitful conversation. So I feel like anyone can do reverse planning. It just means that you write down something that you didn't plan to teach your kid about and you want to give yourself credit. And I do feel like when I've looked back over the things that I've reverse planned, I'm so amazed at how much we have covered, but it also shows me the holes in the areas that like, oh, wow, I thought I was being really well balanced, but we haven't talked about math like as consistently as I would have liked to, because you can literally see the holes, you know, if you get like a 5-day planner where you can, so you can see across the week, like, okay, if there's a math section, like a math column, a language arts column, a science column, and you're writing down like these little tidbits that are happening throughout your day, you can see like, wow, there's nothing in the science column. So I feel like this could the reverse planning is probably one of my favorite least spoken of gems. It really does help.
Yes. Yeah. And it's actually a method that we use in our house. I document what I want to do. I'm the one that will write down what I want to do first. And whatever we have accomplished or anything else that has happened, I'll write it down in my actual like plans.
And I think speaking, from the teacher side, it's really helpful when you meet with your teacher, if you've documented those impromptu things and the things that, that come up organically, just throughout living life. And those make for so much richer conversations with your teachers when you meet, because those things do count, both for you, your children, and your teachers. And that's part of the learning that occurred. And everybody should kind of recognize and celebrate all of that process that's happening. So by documenting it in a way, and even following up and having the kids do an activity with it, can be really helpful on both ends.
Can I just say something really quick? I think it's also an opportunity for parents to learn to take advantage of things that pop up in the day that maybe you've stomped over in the speed to get to do whatever else you have to do, and make you pull back the brakes and go, hey, here's an opportunity to turn this into a learning situation.
I'm gonna have to remember to write up all those things down as well. No, I forget to sometimes. Okay. So we're gonna move to the next one, which is multiple grade students. So what do you do if you have multiple students? Homeschooling with multiple students can be tricky and it can be hard, but it doesn't have to be. And I do have some tips to help you when you're trying to plan with multiple grade students. Try not to double book yourself. And what I mean by this is try not to plan multiple learners doing something that needs your full attention. And some ways to avoid this is planning some subjects together. So great subjects for this are like social studies and science, history and geography. Everybody can do that together. And even at different levels. So for instance, you're doing science and you're doing physics with your young learners, they can do like an activity with it, and your older learners can join in the activity, but then they can expand on that by like writing about the project. You can always I like to call it beef it up for the older kids. Independent time. This is where students can work independently on things that they don't need a lot of help from you. For example, learners sometimes they can do math and reading independently, while the little ones can do coloring or play. Encouraging independent learning early so they can prepare for more independence later on is really going to help you, especially if you have a really large family. And while a few learners are doing things independently, you can do one-on-one time with the other learner. So space out time to work with each learner one-on-one while the other ones are busy. In my house, my youngest will work with me first with one-on-one, and we'll work on her letters and numbers and things like that, while my older two are still kind of waking up because they're sleepy. And then I work with my middle daughter while my oldest is either doing independent learning and my youngest is playing, or sometimes they'll play together. And then I spend some time with my oldest helping her with anything she needs, while my younger ones are pretty much done for most of the day and they're playing. And then we do together subjects or classes after that. The last is outsourcing. It's okay to ask to have someone else teach your learners. You do not have to do it all. This is the beauty of homeschooling, choosing. Outsourcing can be classes, online or in person, co-ops, tutors. It can even be your older learner helping a younger learner. Sometimes I don't feel like reading all day, so I let my oldest read out loud, and that's 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay. Some more tips. Do you have toddlers and little kids? Work with them first thing in the morning. This fills their cup and they're more likely to play on their own. Now, this doesn't always work, but it does help most of the time. Another one for littles is to have something that they enjoy doing alone that only comes out during school lesson time, like some favorite blocks, or like in my house, Play-Doh. It's the only time it comes out. Another tip is to make a lesson plan outline. This is going to guide you through each lesson. This can make your day go much smoother. And this is an outline. This isn't the details of each lesson. So for example, like science, you're going to, each time you do science, you go over the main topic of the lesson. Maybe you watch videos about the lesson, do a hands-on activity, and then write it in your notebook, like the basic outline that you're going to do. Another example is like history. Read the chapter, do workbook pages, watch documentary, do some map work, just a basic outline. So every time you sit down to do that lesson, you know what you're going to do. This really helps with planning as well when you go to your plans to create the plan. This might not work for like open and go curriculum, kind of like Math UC, but you can. With like Math UC, you're going to be like, watch the lesson or go over the lesson, do the worksheets. You can do an outline, but you might not need to. Look over your lesson plans weekly, or plan them out weekly. Go over what you've planned already and make sure you have everything you need. You can also write out your plans at the start of the week. I like to use Saturday mornings to write out what we plan to do and make sure I have everything I need. It gives me a day and a half to get the things that I don't have. I don't like to plan too far in advance. Because then I'll forget what I planned. Get a visual routine or plan. This really helps your kids in knowing what's going to happen throughout the day, and they'll eventually get used to it and know, okay, this is next, and then this is next. Utilize Blue Ridge resources. So this is last. We went over them last week, and they're available for you to use, so use them. And that's all I have for today. Please remember to come next week where we're going to talk about avoiding burnout, or at least how to deal with it when you have burnout. Does anybody want to ask questions or share at this time? You're free to unmute, type in the chat if you want to.
Yes, I have a question. What time is the one next week? Like
Same
what
time.
day and what time? Same time,
Same day, same time. The
Got it. Thank you.
29th at 11. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We're able to watch the replay on all of these?
Yeah, it'll be, I think I put it in the, did I put it in the chat? Let me find it.
You did put in the chat, but I had trouble opening it. I don't know why.
Let me check it. Oh, there's an error. Why is there an error? Oh, that is not the right link. That's why. Let me find it for you. Sorry.
Who could I reach out to for help with curriculum?
Yeah. So we can help you here. Your teacher can also help you. And I believe our curriculum department is having a few sessions for curriculum as well.
Yes, the curriculum department is doing presentations on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. So they'll have an actual formal presentation to review different curriculum options and pros and cons of each, and then you can ask questions as well. I can put, do we have their flyer for that, or it should be in the same?
I think it was it 2 Wednesdays this month, and they're going to repeat it again next month?
Yes, then they repeat it again.
Okay, I do have that on my calendar.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. We don't have a teacher. She, I guess, is not going to be with you guys anymore, and I'm kind of in the same boat as the other parent, just waiting for a teacher to reach out.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, we just left or we just closed out the previous school year. So they are working on making all of those transfers and then assigning all of the newly enrolled families. So it just takes a little bit, but they are working diligently to get everyone assigned as quickly as possible, just to make sure everyone can start their ordering by July 10th.
I am going to put the newsletter, and I'm going to find the welcome newsletter as well and put those in the chat for you.
And that will have a lot of links to the upcoming information sessions and curriculum ideas and things like that that you can begin looking through on your own.
How would families, after this session is over, is there a way that they can?
Oh yeah, and in the chat, I put a link to the document that's going to have this recording, so you'll be able to find it there in the recording. I think the only links I've shared is that document and the school calendar, and then the newsletters that I'm sharing right now.
Does that answer your question, Jessica Monroy?
Yes, that does. I do apologize. I'm still learning how to unmute and mute this. It does answer my question. I did want to ask you also, will there be recordings for the curriculum sessions as well that I can access just for if in case? I am planning to attend in July, the 2 Wednesdays, but just for if in case I miss something, if you know.
I think they usually do record them. We'd have to double check for you. If you're able to attend the session, then they usually let you know where those recordings are posted.
Okay.
But yeah, if we find them, we can try to make them available for you.
Okay, thank you so much. That was my question.
I have a quick question. I'm in my 7th year homeschooling, so I feel silly for even feeling this way, but
Don't feel silly.
when it comes to curriculum, I feel like I've normally strayed away because it always overwhelmed me, like just deciding on one. And I feel like I'll get super excited about one and then it'll come in the mail and then my kids are like, ugh, another curriculum. Why are you excited? So I've tried as my kids have gotten older, because now they're going into 7th and 5th, to show them the curriculum I'm excited about and see, if they want to make a say or have a say in it. And that sort of has helped. But now I have twins that are coming into kindergarten and I'm like sucked back down the rabbit hole of like looking at all the kindergarten curriculums and how exciting and beautiful they are. So my question kind of is like, how do you guys go about making decisions on curriculum? Do you feel like it helps to include your kids in it, or is that just usually a dead end anyway? I mean, I guess that varies by kid, but like, how do you just finally choose one? Because I'm experienced with homeschooling and I find it overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be definitely overwhelming for each kid because they are so different. I just try things and see what sticks. There's samples of most curriculum online that you can try out and see if it's going to work. And the last discussion we had, or the session we had, was on how to find what will work for your kids. Like what's their learning style, what's your homeschool style, and things like that. It'll help narrow it down.
Yeah.
And then you can like search for something that'll work.
Also,
getting some input from my daughter, I think that was helpful, rather than all the decisions coming from me. And it also helped me to realize when I picked things out, they were things that suited me and my style. If I had been, if I got to homeschool as a child, and didn't necessarily speak to her and how she enjoyed learning. And so I realized I kind of had to find a curriculum that was like the compromise in the middle. And that really helps to get her input and to, if they're younger, just to really consider how they learn best and what they respond best to. There is always a little bit of trial and error, I think, in the beginning of, what works and what doesn't. I personally don't like to commit to like a big packaged program. I'd rather pull the pieces that I think suit our family best or their learning needs the best. And I think always reflecting back on why you homeschool, what is the big thing you want them to get out of it? And that helps to kind of narrow down sometimes some of the choices. When you get excited about the shiny packaging, the shiny possibilities, it's like fun to shop for curriculum. It's like the shopping for school supplies gets really exciting. But when you really just keep revisiting, what are the big main objectives that you're trying to achieve with homeschooling and which curriculum is going to help you to meet those the best. And what's going to fit into your schedule the best, because obviously with homeschooling multiples, you've got a lot on your plate. So if you're picking out a curriculum for your kindergartners that are going to be, that's going to take a lot of mom time to implement, maybe think about how that might fit in or not fit in. Sorry, Carrie.
Also, no, it's okay. I was waiting to see if you mentioned it or not, but I just wanted to remind people again that we have 2 libraries. And if you're concerned, and it is a big concern if you spend funds on a curriculum and then decide it's just not going to work for you. So it's nice to go online and look at the library and take different things for a test drive.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's so helpful.
Yeah,
I
we
wish
do
there
have a
was like
lot
a
of like the
way.
most popular curriculums like in stock at the library, ready to use. And yeah, you can check those out for free, figure out if you like it or not. And if you'd want to just keep using the one from the library, or if you want to purchase materials of your own, but that's an excellent point. Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, I wish that lending library is such an awesome resource. I wish that we could go like browse it in person, but I'm so grateful that we can at least browse it online and get stuff curbside. Do you know if there's like a way to accurately assess your child's learning style? Because I know there's like quizzes online, but I find them to be really vague. Like they're like, do they like to watch videos? I'm like, yes, all my kids like to watch videos. Or do they like to listen to stories? And I'm like, yeah, depending on their mood, you know, so I feel like it's kind of vague. Is there a really accurate way to assess?
So when they're little, it's going to be harder because they haven't really developed their learning style just yet. Most of them are kinesthetic because when they're little, they love, you know, touching is like the first thing we do when we start learning. But it's going to be harder until they get a little bit older. I actually just recently learned my oldest, who's 14, is an audio learner and not a visual learner like I thought she was. And I've been teaching her visually, and she's like, Mom, can we stop watching videos? I just want to listen to a book. I'm like, okay. So it's gonna change. It shifts, and then it's really hard when they're little.
It's hard when they're little, and I think it's also, I think some of the best teaching practices, you're tapping into all of those modalities and moving through them, and because everyone evolves over time. Like you might be a stronger visual learner for a couple of years, but as you go through and you mature, you know, or they might be more kinesthetic for a couple of years, and we all go back and forth pretty naturally. I think with anything you do, just making sure you're rotating through all of those three major modalities, you're most likely to get depth of understanding and more permanent learning by just engaging in multiple ways. So rather than trying to pick just the one that's best, kind of focus on how many ways can we do this and how many ways can we interact with content. You know, if you're working on the alphabet and printing, you know, you do it visually, you can do it kinesthetically with sandpaper or with wiki sticks. You can, you know, let's lay on the floor and make the letters, you know, with our bodies and, you know, things like that. So there's lots of things you can do. And I think just fun ways to play, you know, make it learning through play by engaging in all those modalities.
I loved, was it Handwriting Without Tears is preschool curriculum. They use all of the learning methods for each like letter and things. And that has helped me figure out like, okay, this is the one my kid gravitates to the most. This is probably their current learning style.
I love all the Learning Without Tears materials, by the way. They go up through 5th grade, and they're now in Spanish as well, which I think is fantastic.
Hi, do you know how I can return some of the materials to the library? Do you know if the library is open for us to return the materials that we've used?
They are open for you to return items. They're just not open for you to pick anything up right now. Let me see if I can find they have a calendar on their website that tells you what hours.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9, from like 9 to 12, 9 to 1. Most days they're open, but yeah, we should always double check their calendar on the website in case they're closed for a holiday or something during the summer. But most Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings, they're available to drop off.
And I put in their site.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. I know I'm heading there soon. Right after this, I was going to go see if they needed some help and help. I think Fran's there today. Anybody have any more questions or just want to talk? Remember, please keep in touch. Once again, I'm Shannon Eves. That's my phone number, and that's our email address. You can join our Facebook group. It's open again. I just did a whole housekeeping on it. And also thank you. Thank you for coming. And I'm gonna stop the recording.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're the
you.
best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you.